Now, top story at this big blow to Apple's manufacturing push in India and Southeast Asia. Foxconn Technology Group has now asked hundreds of Chinese engineers and technicians to return home from its iPhone factories in India. Now, the bulk of Foxconn's Chinese staff at iPhone plants in southern India have been told to fly back. This includes more than 300 Chinese workers, and they've been now left, and mostly support staff from Taiwan remain in India. This is according to officials. Now, this comes amid rising geopolitical tensions between the two countries. Let's take a look. This is a big step that has been taken by the Foxconn Technology Group, who have now recalled their Chinese engineers and technicians back from India. And this is from iPhone factories. Now, the bulk of Foxconn's Chinese staff at iPhone plants in southern India have been told to fly back. And this means that just about 300 Chinese workers have now been left behind, and mostly support staff from Taiwan, which remains in India. Again, a move that comes amid rising geopolitical tensions between the two countries, and also, a move which is part of China's strategy to prevent companies from shifting their manufacturing base to other countries in Southeast Asia, and especially India. And now I'm being joined by Kanish Kaur, founder, India Future Foundation, and a tech expert on the story. So thank you, Mr. Kaur, for joining us here.
Welcome.
All right. Now, first up, I'd like to understand, it's a big step taken by China. How do you look at this move by the group? And also, do we know the reason for why such a step has been taken?
See, since the Trump administration has come in, there have been heavy trade wars between China and the US. And companies like Apple have decided to move their manufacturing outside of China, given Trump was trying to increase the tax which is applicable to China, which was reaching up to 130%. But now with the trade deal, it has come down to 30%. Today, China has created a monopoly where most of the manufacturing of iPhone and other electronic devices happens in China. And given the geopolitical tensions which are rising between China and some of the leading global powers, the world is today looking at alternate measures where manufacturing can happen, and India emerges as one that alternate today. So this is more of trade war where China wants to create its monopoly and not let India become a superpower, at least when it comes to manufacturing. Similar move is also done so that China can control the trade war in a manner that it still maintains its number one position in this space. Now, one of the key elements here for India is that India works towards training its own people on manufacturing of iPhones, and whatever staff is remaining right now from Foxconn is trained well, so that there is train the trainer model which is followed at the plant, and similar situation doesn't arise. We will also have to look at how China controls the supply of rare earth minerals, and it is trying to see how those rare earth minerals do not reach out to countries like India. So India has to be better prepared. It wants to position itself as a leader in manufacturing globally.
All right. Well, that explains the reason behind why such a step has been taken. Now, I want to understand what is the scale of this? How many Chinese engineers and other staff members were working in India, and currently what's the scale like?
See, if you look at the whole manufacturing segment, it's not just Foxconn. There are other companies who have manufacturing plants and who have moved manufacturing plants outside of China. So there would be close to 2,000 plus Chinese engineers across various manufacturing plants which are there. And today, we have seen with Foxconn, I see that there would be more Chinese engineers who would be returning to their homeland because China would want these engineers to come back and ensure there is no transfer of technology that happens to India. And the skill which these people have is niche, so that Indians don't get trained enough and they can be part of the new manufacturing life cycle. So I see this move as unprecedented, and more engineers would follow back to China. You would see other plants as well. This is one plant which Foxconn has. There are other manufacturing plants as well. You may recall Adani also had called in certain Chinese engineers for helping them set up a plant, but I don't know what's going to happen next there. So China is trying to basically ensure that India does not rise up. And we will have to look at alternates and also build up our partnerships so that the engineers in India are trained quickly and swiftly before China tries to withdraw more engineers across the manufacturing segment from India.
All right, clearly an unprecedented step taken by China here, and as you said, this could, also lead to further steps being taken by Beijing here. I want to understand what is the kind of impact then are we looking here? Will the production capacities be affected? Will the assembly line be affected?
See, there could be a short-term issue with respect to production, but eventually we would see that there would be alternative arrangements being made by companies like Foxconn because they have manufacturing plants at other places as well. So there could be Taiwanese nationals who could typically replace these Chinese professionals. And Foxconn would look at supplementing this because this is an issue which has come in one plant. If similar issue comes for them in other plants, they will have to look at supplementing it through their own engineers or who are Taiwanese nationals. So I would see that there would be an opportunity for India and Taiwan to work together and more skilled professionals from Taiwan to come and land in India. So India has to look at it from a holistic perspective that replacing China could be through trained, skilled nationals from Taiwan who have been doing this for very long and also build up more partnerships on skilling and training with other manufacturing giants in this space. So iPhone manufacturing is done by Foxconn, which is one of the major partners. But today, other companies like Tata Technologies are also gearing up for setting up large plants. They're already doing manufacturing for iPhone, but they're trying to scale that globally. And Tim Cook sounded that he's looking at increasing manufacturing in India. So India will also have to build up its supply chain of having more people trained locally, domestically, or even sending certain people in other Taiwanese plants or other plants of Foxconn so that they get trained and come back and are able to do that job. And that lacuna, which is created because of Chinese nationals going out, is taken care of.
All right. So from what you just said, it seems like the Chinese workers could be replaced by Taiwanese workers here. I want to understand, are India and Taiwan taking any step, is background talks being taken up by the two countries in this direction?
See, Taiwan sees India as a strategic partner, not just in manufacturing, but also helping it in other areas. We have seen cooperation happening between Taiwan and India across defense, across sharing transfer of technology, and looking at electronic gadgets. And today, Taiwan is emerging as India's leading partner, replacing China when it comes to electronic gadgets. So you would see this building forward, and the Prime Minister of India has spoken to the leadership of Taiwan in the past. And Taiwan is a major country where India could really build up its transfer of technology partnerships. I have seen that there have been talks in the past, but today, now we will have to accelerate some of those conversations to ensure they get picked up on ground. So we could look at Taiwanese companies or Taiwanese government helping India expand its manufacturing, not just in the electronic segment space, but even the semiconductor space, because India today requires large manufacturing capabilities. It has to counter China. And some of the rare earth minerals which are controlled by China, China is trying to block those rare earth minerals so that India does not have access to them and India is not able to start the process of fabrication or to set up large manufacturing plants. So India will have to look at building up a larger supply chain, not just within Taiwan, but also look at some of the African countries where these rare earth minerals originate from.
All right. So, you mentioned that there's some other countries as well where India could cooperate with. Could you collaborate, just elaborate on that? What are the other countries that India could work with in this direction?
Sure. So you would have seen that the Prime Minister has just landed in Ghana,
Yes.
and India is trying to build up a partnership with Ghana. So, like Ghana, there are other African countries where you have rare earth minerals. Now, these countries, the supply lines so far are controlled by China. Now, these countries include Rwanda, Congo, uh, Nigeria. Now, these countries have rare earth minerals today, which basically supply to the rest of the world. Now, you have Chinese engineers who have already landed here and who are trying to ensure that the exports just land in China. So the visitor of the Prime Minister in Africa is really strategic because he's trying to build up those local allies. So India also has a foot in the door right now to build up those partnerships. Mind you, the Chinese have been first in spotting this out so that they control the global supply chain. But India has to take a lead right now. That's why the visit of the Prime Minister to some of these African countries becomes really critical. And we have seen Jaishankar also in the past going to some of these African countries and their leaders even coming to India. Even countries like South Africa play a very strategic role because of the supply chain with respect to gold being there in South Africa. And you've seen moves being made by India to build up strong strategic partnerships with countries like South Africa. So it is not just Taiwan, it is basically the entire supply chain of rare earth minerals, which becomes critical. And it is important for manufacturing of electronic items, components, and semiconductors, which are critical to not just one market, but multiple segments, including manufacturing.